Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, good evening everyone. Selamat sore.
Waalaikumsalam.
Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Welcome to this very special session of the AIMEP 2025 program. And we have a very special guest speaker with us this afternoon. Firstly, though, before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge, I'm in Melbourne here, so I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land here, Southeast Melbourne, the Bunurong people, and we pay our respects to their elders, past and present. And also the members of the Australia-Indonesia Institute Board who are here as well. Thank you for coming and for supporting this session. But our guest speaker for this very special session of the AIMEP is a very senior leader in the government of Indonesia, who has kindly made time for us today. And that is, of course, Professor Dr. Kiai Haji Abdul Mukti, who is the Minister for Primary and Secondary Education of the Republic of Indonesia, and also the Secretary General of Muhammadiyah, the largest modernist Muslim mass organization in Indonesia. And it's a great honor for us to welcome Pak Mukti back to the AIMEP, as he's been a speaker before and was also one of its very first alumni back in 2002. Before I tell you more about Pak Mukti's achievements and accomplishments and invite him to address you, it's my great pleasure to first welcome the chair of the Australia-Indonesia Institute, Ibu Lydia Santoso, to also give a welcome on behalf of the AII. So welcome, Ibu Lydia.
Thank you, Rowan. Thank you. Selamat malam semuanya. Assalamualaikum. I would also like to begin by respectfully acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land where each of us joins from today, whether that be across Australia, Indonesia, or beyond. I would like to pay my deepest respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with us on this session tonight. It is my great privilege to welcome you all to this AIMEP very special session. For over 2 decades, the Australia-Indonesia Muslim Exchange Program, facilitated by Mosaic Connections, has served as a flagship initiative of the Institute, bringing together emerging Muslim leaders from both of our nations to foster understanding, dialogue, and enduring bonds. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of my board members joining us tonight. Ellie is joining us from Jogja. And we also have Gemma Purdy from Melbourne. And we also have Karen Marek, who is our manager of the Secretariat based in oh my gosh, where are you? In Vanuatu? No, you are in Karen?
Honiara.
Honiara, that's the one. Welcome to Ellie, Gemma, and Karen. Interfaith initiatives like AIMEP, in my opinion, are more crucial now more than ever. They enable Muslim changemakers, community activists, and emerging leaders from Australia and Indonesia to explore and appreciate the rich diversity within mainstream Islamic expression in our nations. What I love most about this program is that it cultivates a safe, respectful space for dialogue on a whole range of topics, bridging the geographic and cultural differences between the communities. The 2025 AIMEP cohort is a vibrant example of interfaith and intercultural potential in action, is what I'm going to call it. I have had the privilege to have met you on the selection panel and also through the online session. So I am very excited about this year's cohort. Our delegates ranging from interfaith activists, educators, public servants, peace builders, artists, lawyers, doctors, health professionals, right through to community organisers embody the diversity, the passion and leadership that fuel meaningful change. We have also an exceptional group of alumni as well, one you're about to meet and the star of the show tonight. And I must say that AIMEP alumni continue to be the most active and most engaging alumni of any program I've been involved with. And that's largely thanks to Rowan and Brinna, who not only do an incredible job of running AIMEP, but also do an incredible job of fostering, nurturing, and assisting alumni with their activities and ideas and enthusiasm post-program. So thank you so much, Rowan and Brinna. Alumni stories illustrate exactly just how interfaith dialogue and exposure to different cultural contexts deepen empathy, spiritual insight, and mutual respect. Qualities really essential in today's increasingly connected world. Tonight, we are especially honored. Well, I am very honored to host this special session with one of our most distinguished alumni, the Minister, Professor Dr. Abdul Muti, an AIMEP alumni of 2002, which Rowan has mentioned. Welcome home, Minister. Your presence really is a testament to AIMEP's impact. As General Secretary of Muhammadiyah, Minister of Primary and Secondary Education, and a leading educator and academic yourself, you truly exemplify how alumni continue to shape the future of Indonesia-Australia relations through leadership, faith, and interreligious understanding. Minister, we are proud to count you among our alumni. We cherish the enduring bond that you share with AIMEP, and you have been an incredible supporter of AIMEP since being on the program. And we are really eager to benefit from your reflections and insights tonight. So on behalf of the Australia-Indonesia Institute, Mosaic Connections, the AII board, and all of us present here today, I extend a heartfelt welcome to you, Abdul Muti, and would like to thank you for joining us and enriching this special session. We look forward to a conversation full of inspiration, insight, and collaboration. So terima kasih banyak, Pak. Selamat malam.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for that welcome. And I will very soon hand over to our keynote speaker. And Lydia has already mentioned that he is as we know, the Indonesian Minister for Primary and Secondary Education and the General Secretary of Muhammadiyah. So I don't need to mention that again. But I just wanted to mention for our Australian delegates, his second position is as the secretary of an organization which has more than 60 million members. That's twice the population of Australia. And that's only his second role. So I just wanted to underscore that. And the other thing is a personal note. Pak Muti is one of our earliest alumni back in 2002. And back then I had the very great privilege of accompanying him to Shepparton, where we met the Albanian Muslim community. And one of our delegates, it's one of the oldest Muslim communities in Australia, and one of our delegates in this year's cohort is also from the Albanian Muslim community. So I thought that was a lovely note. Pak Muti remembers that trip well, because we talk about it when we meet, not that often, but when we do. So thank you so much, Bapak Muti, Profesor Muti. Terima kasih banyak atas kehadirannya sore ini, suatu kehormatan yang sangat besar bagi kami. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Kami persilakan Bapak untuk menyampaikan sambutan.
Thank you, Rowan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon for Indonesian and good evening for Australian. It is my pleasure to meet you virtually in this very important program. To Rowan, my very good friend, and Brina, and also Lydia, and some of the team from AII, and the alumni here. I saw Bu Rita Pranawati and also Ulfa, and my colleagues from Minister of Primary and Secondary Education, Ibu Rus Prita. Sometimes I call her Prita. I think, are you part of the alumni as well? Or maybe part of the facilitator of the program that will be part of the future engagement between the minister and also with the AII as the very important institution that make this program successful. So Lydia and also Rowan just mentioned that involving in this program is just coming home, and also give me the spirit about 23 years ago when I was with Rowan, and as the first arrival of this program, and as the pioneer of this program, I'm also very happy and also very proud to be part of the AIMEP alumni. I just want to share some of the issues that might be meaningful for you, and also might be also part of my contribution for this conversation. As you see that if we speak about Muslim community, sometimes we call it as Muslim Ummah. And one of the point that I can highlight from this is that if you see the word Ummah in the Quran, it is mentioned about 61 times in the Quran. What Ummah is mentioned there. Ummah is actually singular or mufrad, but it actually carry plural meaning, because Ummah could be translated as community. And think from this etymological approach, we can understand that regardless of differences between Muslims, differences in relation to their ethnicities or maybe nationalities, they are actually one. So the Quran mentioned kana nasu ummata wahida, that actually not only Muslim, that is actually one single community, but humankind also one single community. So from the word ummah itself, then we could understand the importance of unity, but unity is not uniformity, because the Quran actually still very strongly emphasize the diversity of mankind, diversity in their races, in their nationalities, are actually part of the greatness of Allah or ayat Allah, but this unity is actually born by the Aqidah, meaning that we are connected and we are part of the Ummah regardless our differences. And it is actually also the point that I want to start on the importance of leadership and how we could actually develop our leadership by accepting plurality and also nurturing harmony within diversity. So when Indonesian translate Bhinneka Tunggal Ika as unity in diversity, I'd rather translate unity is diversity, because this is the message of the Quran, and also many times we can find in the Quran that Allah is actually, does not expect humankind as a single, but they are united within the plurality. It is actually part of the point that I want to raise, why this program is very important, because I think Indonesian Muslim and Australian Muslim coming from different background, especially for those participants who are Australian, I understand that you have very different national backgrounds, and also not only different ethnic background, but also differences in many aspects of our family and also our cultural backgrounds. Indonesia also, although Indonesia relatively united in terms of our nation, we call that negara kesatuan, while Australia is federal state, but we also very diverse in terms of our ethnicities, races, and so forth. So this exchange is actually very important if we refer to the Quran that God created mankind in very different races and nationalities, Su'uban wa qabail li ta'arufu. The word ta'aruf here means we need to know each other, but more than that, actually, li ta'arufu means you have to accept each other, and you have to do the best for others. So by having this message, then interaction, meeting, and also exchange program like this could again strengthen our bond, strengthen our understanding and acceptance toward differences. This is actually the challenge of our nowadays time. By technology, we can actually have conversation with those who are geographically living in far away from us, just like our program now. So, Rowan and El, Lydia and Brina and some other participants, you are far away in Australia. And some of them, I think I noticed from Vanuatu, maybe in Pacific. and I'm in Jakarta, still in my office now. I've not yet returned home. I'm still in my office. And we could have very, very good conversation without any constraint. But sometimes, you know, we can make closer. Those are far away through technology. But since we have very limited personal interaction, then we make those who are nearby with us becoming, let's say, seems to be apart, seems to be, let's say, disconnected. This is the importance of exchange. This is the importance of connection. Therefore, when I again, sorry to have so many Quranic tafsir in this very important gathering. When we understand the word hablum minan nas, it is not only simply that we have to respect and accept any kind of tradition that is relevant and have no contradiction with Islam. Like you are in Australia, then we have to accept the tradition of Aborigines people or others who have different background. But hablum minan nas means engagement, means network. Therefore, when we refer again to the word ummah and hablum minan nas, then Quran actually, you know, teaches us how our connection, our bond is actually strengthened by our network, by our collaboration. That it is in this context, then this program is very important to give us a very strong message on the importance of connection, on the importance of sharing, the importance of exchange, where we, to some extent, we need to share our view, our opinion, but at the same time, we have also, you know, be good listeners. I just read the 10 top skills revealed released by World Economic Forum. And one of the skills that actually mentioned in this current time is listening skills. Because so many people want to be listened because they are good speakers, but it is actually important as well to be a good listeners. Because by being listeners, then we could have our empathy and sympathy toward others. Therefore, in order that we could become a leader, then we need to embrace all. We need to put all, let's say, college under the principle of what we call collective or collegial leadership. So we are now speaking about super team instead of Superman. I don't mean Superman as the title of the film, yeah. We need to have super team, indicating that everyone has potentials, and these potentials are actually our resources to make us stronger and to strengthen our weaknesses. The second, of course, we also need to be fully aware with our limitation, although we might be in a very strategic and very important position. I think I could say, to be frank, that my journey as leader in this country could not be separated from my experience as the participant of Muslim exchange program. I believe that my career is part of my journey in our life and part of my journey that actually what I call as part of connecting the dots. Connecting the dots means you can have the line of your journey, but actually when we have the line is actually a connected dots. I just finished book, the title is Connecting the Dots, that relate to the importance of leadership. If we can become a leader, if we can connect the dots, you can have a very good paint, for example, or very good line, and you throw something. But if one dot is actually no longer there, then the line is no longer connected. So this is the importance of being a leader. If you are a leader, then you have to be fully aware. Yes, you might be in the top position, but there might be very important people that also have limitation. But there are maybe ordinary person that because of this limitation, they can actually also support you with their unique idea or unique opinion that make us actually becoming very thoughtful, and their very small contribution could make a very serious difference because we also believe in the very popular adagium that a big thing could be achieved from small thing. So if you become a leader, then you need also to be listener. You need to be follower. So many people speaking about leadership, how we could actually lead. But leader does not mean always standing ahead. In the minister, when I'm leading now, we have the principle of so-called Tutwuri Handayani. Tutwuri Handayani, it actually comprises of three principles. Sorry to say it's in Indonesian language or even Japanese language, because this is originally from the founder of Indonesian education, namely Ki Hajar Dewantara. So as a leader, we might be in three positions. Engarso sum tulodo. If you are in the head, you have to be the example. You have to be role model for the members of the organization. Eng matio maun karso. If you are in between, then you have to work together with all members of the team. And then tutwuri handayani. If you are at the back, then you have to support what is actually in front of us. It is actually important how we could put ourselves as a leader, because sometimes as a leader we might away, and someone else have to work in order to make all job done very well. And as a leader, we need to be inspirative, a person that inspires others by giving example. But we also get inspired with others, because we need to learn from others. We need to be student, although we are teachers. So in this context, then important of being a leader and the importance of engaging and embracing others is actually part of the key that we could have ummah, we can have collaboration, we can have unity. And this is actually my experience, so that God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, allow me to lead this minister, and also, allow me to this ministry, and also to become the Secretary General of Muhammadiyah, that Rowan has explained before is one of the largest modernist Muslim organization with so many social businesses and network and so on and so forth. So in this context, then again, my experience as the pioneer, if this word might be too strong, correct me, as the pioneer of AIMEP, actually part of the dots that are connected with my other experiences that make my leadership capacity to become a minister or to become Secretary General of Muhammadiyah, and also to be a professor in university and some other position in this country. This is just my very humble sharing experience. But one point that I want to emphasize, that to become the participant of AIMEP is very important. And also I need again to congratulate you who are selected this year as the participants of AIMEP, and I believe that you will find so many inspiring and insightful experience while you are participating with a very full participation in AIMEP this year. Thank you very much, Rowan, and for now, let me just close by reciting Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Professor Muti, for those remarks. There's already so many points that we can just memetik from what you've already said that are so important for us to bear in mind as emerging Muslim leaders from both countries. Now, I hope that we have time for a few questions, if that's okay, Prof. Muti.
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay, that's wonderful. In that case, perhaps I might let Lydia lead us off, and then we have a question from Luke and also from Mashibat as well. So, Lydia, would you start us off? Thank you
Oh,
very
you want
much.
me to question? Okay.
Oh, well, I just thought ladies first. So.
Yeah, thank you so much. My question, Minister Muti, is as both as an alumnus and a leader in interfaith dialogue, what do you see as the most effective ways programs like AIMEP can strengthen the people-to-people connections between Australia and Indonesia, particularly in building mutual understanding across different faiths and cultures?
A very simple answer, Lydia. If you meet people more, then you will learn more. If you have more interaction, then you will have personal proximity and emotional intimacy. This is the importance of exchange, and this is what the Quran mentioned as ta'aruf. So ta'aruf actually about meeting, about exchange, and about listening and about understanding others. If we could do this, then they will have so many experience, we will have so many new insight, even without reading a book, because the book is actually within the people that we meet with them.
Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Muti. As an alumni myself, I can tell you that it really does have that impact. So we have a question from Luke. It's a very interesting question, and it's a little bit challenging, but it's a challenge we also have in Australia. So I thought maybe we could, Luke, would you be able to ask your question of Professor Muti? If you're there, or would you like me to ask on your behalf?
Hello, can you hear me? Sorry, I've had some technical difficulties.
Yep, silakan. Go ahead, Luke.
Yep. Okay. So I have a very dear friend who is a honorary teacher in Semarang, and she asked me to ask this question on her behalf. And so honorary teachers make up approximately 40% of the teaching workforce in Indonesia, earning less than 500,000 rupiah a month. Is the government planning to change this at all? Noting that one of the key pillars of Busy Indonesia MS 2045 is education, with such a huge plurality of teachers earning such low wages, combined with the climbing cost of living, doesn't this expose the education sector to shifts in market forces and potentially labour shortages, endangering the vision?
Thanks, Luke. Professor Muti, silakan.
That's thank you, Luke, for your question. I think this is the challenge in Indonesia. So I just want to share, for example, from the number of schools in Indonesia now we have more than 400,000 schools throughout the country, and we have more than 52 million students, and we have more than 3 million teachers in the country, and we have more than 17,000 islands in the archipelago. That is why the issue of teachers has always become a very critical issue in Indonesia. But since we have to do our responsibility to make people have their right for education, then we have to sustain schools. Our problem in Indonesia actually is not the shortage number of teachers or the inadequate number of teachers, but the distribution of the teachers in the country. But the term honorary teachers could mean two things in my view. The first, of course, when we see from the perspective of so-called labor or industry perspective, honorary teachers mean those who are actually teaching on the basis of contract. So they are not civil servant, that the salary is totally dependent on the ability or the capacity of institution to give them so-called, I just say so-called salary with the very limited amount of money. But second, honorary teachers mean actually those who are teaching as part of their commitment to society. They are teaching not as a means to, let's say, to have the single income for their family and also for their sustainability, but they are teaching as part of their commitment to serve to the society. Those who are people, sometimes they don't even receive any salary, but they actually donate for the sustainability of the education. So we need to see the reality of so-called honorary teachers or guru honorer from these two perspectives. If we see this from the commitment of a person or people to let's say to deliver the service of education for the community, then again for them salary is not an issue. But for those who actually earn money by being a teacher, then sometimes the salary always become a very critical issue and always become a very political issue. Therefore, what we can do is that how we actually remind people that education is not an industry. Education is part of our service to the community. But this is something that might be too good if we see this from the industrial perspective. But if we see this as part of our commitment to society, and we as Muslim, for example, understand that the supremacy of the Muslim actually very much depend on the quality of our education, and by giving education to the people that need education, then I think it is part of very honor position, and it's very honorable position before the community and also before God. Therefore, in order to solve this problem, then we try to do first, of course, government support, to increase the so-called again salary for these honorary teachers. But also we need to have more participation from the people, because to deliver education is not the single responsibility of the government, but it is also part of the responsibility of the society, including Muslim society. And if you see this in Indonesian context, there are so many private institutions that are founded and funded by Muslim communities. And we also see how people voluntarily, pay for the tuition fee of the schools. And there are actually trends in Indonesia, as reported by one of the leading national media in Indonesia, that the trend for parents to send their children to study in Islamic education are increasing from time to time. And we can also see the improvement of qualities among Muslim schools in the country. Therefore, again, the issue of honorary teachers in Indonesia will remain because of the very big number of schools across the country, a very challenging geography of Indonesia as an archipelago, and also the challenge that we also need to improve the quality of our teachers. I think my response might be a bit confusing, look, but it's also indicated as a minister, I'm also still confused how to solve this kind of challenge.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. Mukti. That's a very comprehensive answer. And I think our Australian delegates will, when they come to visit Indonesia in 1 month's time, they will see a lot of these things up close. And I think your answer gave a very good introduction to what we're talking about. And especially, I'm glad you mentioned the Islamic schools, because Muhammadiyah has a very strong history of pioneering education in Indonesia.
Yeah, about 10% of national school in Indonesia are under the administration of Muhammadiyah.
Yes, yep. I would like to go to one of the female delegates. Sorry, there's so many questions now. I just want to get maybe going back to Indonesia. But Anissa, would you like to ask your question for Pak Mukti?
Yes, Pak Rawan, thank you so much. It's an honor for me to listen to your speaking, Prof. Mukti. My question is, in your opinion, as an educator and also as a Ministry of Education, and also as a change makers, and religious leaders as well, what is the concrete steps and the roles of education to promote tolerance, intrafaith and interfaith within the school and educational settings? I think that's all for one. Thank you so much, Prof. Mukti.
Yeah, thank you, Anissa. Where are you from? Oh, Bandung. Okay, it's not far from Jakarta. Yeah. Okay. Education, especially schools, has at least two important positions. One, when we speak about education schools, the school is the venue of what I frequently say as the meeting point. When students from many different backgrounds, they meet in the classroom. So classroom could become a miniature of our society. Students in the classroom coming from different family backgrounds, and I think they also coming from different, sometimes they also have different religious background and cultural background. Because in Indonesia, we develop inclusive education. It means that our school, our classroom is actually inclusive, where students coming from not only different in terms of their religion, they're also different in terms of their family background, and also they have also differences in terms of their physical condition. By inclusive education, we open education also for disabled or disabled students, and we also accept them as part of our commitment to make the school as a center for meeting point. But at the same time, school also function as the melting point that students actually learning from the same teachers, and they also reading relatively same reading materials. And this actually the roles of education to build the identity of the country and also the identity of the society. We need also to realize that we might have many different identities. As a person, I'm a Muslim by religion. I'm Japanese by race. I'm Indonesian by nationalities. So we can see how a person could have many different identities. But we melt in the school as Indonesian, and we melt in the school as a citizen of the country, and we accept others who are different from us. And just to give you the example, I don't mean this to promote Muhammadiyah, just to give you the example. Muhammadiyah has so many schools throughout the country. And Muhammadiyah, of course, is an Islamic organization. But Muhammadiyah school is not exclusively for Muslim and not even exclusively for Muhammadiyah members, but it's actually inclusive for all. Therefore, in Muhammadiyah schools, there are students who believe in many different religions other than Islam. In eastern part of Indonesia, for example, majority of students in Muhammadiyah are Christian and Catholic. In Bali, there are students coming from Hindu background. Even in Banyuwangi, also some of the students in Muhammadiyah coming from different backgrounds. But in order that we could respect others who are different from us, then religion education is taught in accordance with the religion of the student, and it is actually instructed by the teachers of the same religion, meaning that a Christian student studying Christianity taught by Christian education teachers, the Hindu student they're studying about Hinduism, and it is taught by the Hindu teachers and so forth. Therefore, we again give the example how school could become the center where students coming from different background meet with their friends who are different. I call them as the center for meeting point, but they're also melting point that mark their identity as Indonesian. And it is actually also written in Indonesian Education Act. In Indonesian Education Act, it is written that religion education is given according to the religion of the students, and it is taught by teachers of the same religion respectively. This is what I call as the example of positive pluralism, when we accept plurality and we respond plurality in a very positive way. So pluralism does not mean syncretism. So pluralism is the state of mind and also the value that we believe in our religion, but we also fully aware that there are others who have different religion, but then we respect them, we accept them. And to some extent, we need also to accommodate them, allow them to practice their religion, even in our home. That is actually actually may be different from others, but also we need to work together regardless our differences, because as a citizen, we are united as Indonesian, we are united as the communities, then we could actually still have partnership and cooperation, although we have differences. At the point where we have commonalities, we work together, but at the point when we are different, then we tolerate each other. I think that is my answer, Anissa. Hopefully, it's actually could give you the perspective on what we can nurture our plurality and also maintain tolerance in our society. Thank you, Anissa.
Thank you so much, Pak Muti. I hope we have time for a couple more questions, hopefully brief. I want to give the opportunity to Iman, Sister Iman. So, Pak Muti, Iman is from the Albanian community in Melbourne. So I'm really glad she has a question. She works in the Premier's office, and Iman, hopefully one day you'll be the minister as well. Iman, silakan, please ask your question.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Roland, and Assalamu alaikum, Professor Muti. Thank you so much for sharing your reflections. My question is looking at what I would love to know what you think the most effective way of creating a more unified ummah is. Noting you're the education minister, I imagine it'd be through schools and the power that a curriculum can have on educating children and transforming society. But yeah, just really thinking how can we maybe approach it more strategically, because I think locally and globally the ummah is quite divided, and I know lots of people are doing their best, but it seems to be that efforts can be quite scattered. So what are some suggestions that you have of things that us as maybe aspiring leaders or people that are active in the community space should focus on?
I think if we refer to the Quran, we can say that we need to be moderate. And if we want to be precise, we need to be adil and wasat. The Quran actually mentioned in one of the verse that we are the best community, and as a community we could achieve so many success in our life if we behave in a very moderate way. Moderate does not mean weak, does not mean soft. Moderate here I mean is that we have our standing position as a Muslim. Actually, I am a member of Muhammadiyah, but I believe that also there are others who have different organizations. In Indonesia, there are at least 83 Islamic organizations. So you can see how diverse is Muslim community in Indonesia. I have my very good brothers, maybe some of you here coming from Nahdlatul Ulama or Persatuan Islam, or maybe from what else? From PUI or some other Islamic organization. But we fully respect others as part of their preference and as part of their voluntary affiliation. Then if we can have a moderate way, again, I just want to reemphasize what I mentioned before, that we do have our standpoint, but we also believe that there are others who have also their standpoint. If we refer to the Quran, وَلِكُلِّ وِجْهَةٌ هُوَ مُوَلِّيهَا, there are communities that they are actually very relied on and they're very strongly committed to, but what the Quran teaches us is actually fastabiqul khairat, do the best and be the best. So if we can have this kind of part of our commitment, then differences or diversity is actually not only the sign of the greatness of Allah, but it's also the sign that Muslim could be very strong if we could accept diversity, if we could behave in a very moderate way, not to be too extreme and too intolerant toward others who have different standpoint. In the hadith, Prophet Muhammad SAW teaches us that khairul umuri awsatuha. The best position is taking in a very wasatiyah position, be the moderate, by saying that we do have our position, we do understand and fully aware that others also have their different position, but we can actually still tolerate others and accept others, because although there are differences, there are actually commonalities among us. This is actually the point, that we can actually strengthen each other as a Muslim. Hopefully it is helpful, and this is actually my personal experience as well, because in Indonesia again, we as the leader of Islamic organization also frequently meet with the leaders of other Islamic organizations as well as leaders from other religion, because in the country we breathe from the same air, and we live in the same land, and we need to share with others in order that we could have harmony in our society. Hopefully it is answering your question, Iman.
It does.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you very much, Pak Mukti. I'm conscious of time.
Maybe
do we
one
have
more
time
question,
for a
Rowan?
final? Okay, because I'm conscious we only had one Indonesian delegate so far. So maybe Mas Hibat, you had a question right at the start. I think it's a great one to finish on. So yeah, silakan. Would you like to ask your question, Mas Hibat? And then we have to have a group photo. So I just have to remember not to forget that. Silakan.
Thank you, Farwan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Prof. Mukti, my name is Ibat. We actually meet before, and at that time you roast me, you making a funny jokes because I'm from NU but was helping Muhammadiyah programs to MPKS with Pak Mariman. It's honor to meet you again here.
Thank you, Ibat. So people call me as the leader of Muhammadiyah garis lucu, ya. A funny Muhammadiyah leader. Thank you, Ibat.
Yeah. Prof. Mukti, in my work now, I try to embody Islam. Islam not only as a ritual, but as an impact-based religion, one that provides solutions to people's problems through social action and digital philanthropy, just like Muhammadiyah says. From your perspective, what is the best way for young Muslim leaders and communities to translate Islamic values into tangible social impact that society can truly feel? So Islam is still not as only a religion of a ritual. Islam will be seen as a religion of solution, not only ritual. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you, Ibat. I think we need to bring our young generation closer to their community. This is very important. If we understand diversity only from a book, that is not enough. I have my personal experience with this point. Again, I'm coming from Muhammadiyah family background, but I'm living in a very strong Nahdlatul Ulama society. That is my background, to be very brief. And then when I undertook pembibitan dosen, program pembibitan dosen, I have friends, all of them from different part of Indonesia. Then I have interaction with my friend from Aceh, from East Java, and from Medan and other part of Indonesia. Then I start learning new culture with my interaction from my experience as members of Pembibitan Dosen. But all of them are still Muslim, but they're coming from different Islamic organizations. So when I was in my hometown in Kudus, I have only two organizations, Muhammadiyah and Nahdlatul Ulama. But then when I was in Pembibitan Dosen, my friend coming from Persis, from Al-Wasliyah, from PUI, and some other Islamic organization. So it has actually enriched my experience with many diversity among Muslims. Then I undertook my English course, pre-departure course in Bali. It was my first time, to meet friends from many different religions. I have friends who are Hindu, who are Catholic, who are Christian. Then it's actually again enrich my experience and encounter with diversity. But then I studied in Australia. That again, it enriched my experience with Muslims from many different countries, with many different madhab, and with many different political positions. And I have so many anecdotes in this regard. I can just share one of them. When I was in Adelaide, Rowan, I performed Friday prayer in Central Mosque in Adelaide. And this actually the mosque that most of us actually performing, because this is the so-called the Grand Mosque in Adelaide. At that time, you know, the mosque will be renovated, because this actually considered to be the oldest mosque in Adelaide, and the community received the grant from the government. But in that context, you know, there are disputes among the organizing committees between two poles, in quotation, the Azerbaijan poles and the Pakistani poles. And they are actually competing, you know, to be the organizing committee. Then it was my first experience when, you know, they are not only debating and having so many, let's say, emotion, they are actually quarreling. They're quarreling in the yard of the mosque among the organizing committee. But then when the adhan called, they stop fighting. When the adhan called, they stop fighting. And then they do listen to the prayer, listen to the sermon and performing prayer. So what I can learn from this is actually sometimes we have our different interests, but if we believe that we have the same religion, then we can actually disregard our differences and our interests. So it is in this context, I think, if we put Islam, our spirit to be united, much higher than our organization interest or personal interest, then we could still live peacefully side by side. And it was my only experience that I can share here, because it will never be happen in Indonesia, but that's actually happened. So what I can share with this example is that I do not mean that is the bad thing. That is not the bad thing. I believe that. But if we try to put ourselves not in a very highest position, we put ourselves as part of the community, and then we become, at the same time, we might be a leader, but at the same time, we might also become the follower, then we could remain moderate in our attitude. We could accept differences, and we can find the solution regardless our differences. So I think if we could put this as part of our commitment, again, this is actually not something that we could have. Being tolerant is not enough by simply reading a book, by simply conducting research. To become a tolerant and moderate, we need to have more friends, we need to have more interaction with others who are different from us. The more you interact yourself, the more you expose yourself with those who are different, then the more tolerant you are, the more moderate you are. This is my very simple answer, and sorry not telling the joke in this occasion, because I'm afraid that may be missed in translation. But I just want to have one joke, one joke with regard to Ibadah. Yeah. Sometimes in Indonesia we have labels. Those who are reciting kunut, they are classified as Nahdlatul Ulama. And then those who do not recite kunut, they are classified as Muhammadiyah. One day, it was a case when a young man prayed in Nahdlatul Ulama Mosque. It is actually subuh time. And then this young man did not recite kunut. And after this young man finished his prayer, the Kiai called him. Young man, you did not recite kunut in your subuh prayer. are you Muhammadiyah? So the Kiai actually, asked question angrily. And then with a very humble answer, the young man said, I'm not a member of Muhammadiyah. I did not recite kunut because I could not remember kunut. So he does not recite kunut, not because he is member of Muhammadiyah, but because he does not remember how to recite kunut. This is the importance of not being prejudiced. This is the importance of being a good listener. Thank you. Hopefully this joke could be strengthen my position as Muhammadiyah Garis Lucu.
Thank you so much, Professor Mukti. We really appreciate that. And we've already been explaining about Muhammadiyah and Nahdlatul Ulama to our delegates. So now we have to explain not only Muhammadiyah, but Muhammadiyah Garis Lucu. So I look forward to lots of questions about that later on, but I really appreciate
I love it.
that you've given us that that joke to take away from, and also so many inspiring and enriching points, especially about working with diversity, because that's the reality of our world, our interconnected world today, is that we all are coming from different backgrounds and we need to work together. So I really appreciate, we all please, on behalf of all the delegates, please thank our keynote speaker, Bapak Menteri, Professor Dr. Kiai Haji Abdul Mukti, who has been so generous with his time. I have to remember to Ulfa, can you do the honors for a group photo, please? If everyone is able to turn on their cameras for a second, and we can have a group photo. But while we're getting ready for that, please, take a moment to express your appreciation in the chat for Professor Mukti's time and comments, and for sharing some of his wisdom with us.